Captain Han Sol Kim stood on the bridge of the New Dawn and watched his ship die. The massive colony vessel carried 50,000 sleeping humans toward their new home. 3 months ago, they had left Earth with hope in their hearts. Now that hope was fading like the failing lights around him. The quantum drive explosion had torn through the engine section like a wild beast. Metal twisted and melted. Cables hung loose like broken bones. The ship that once moved faster than light now drifted through empty space like a dead whale in an endless ocean. Boram Lee crawled through the damaged engine room with her repair tools. Sweat covered her young face as she worked in the red emergency lighting. She was the best engineer on the ship, but even she could not fix what the explosion had broken. The quantum core was gone. The backup engines barely had power to keep the lights on. "Captain Kim to the engine room," she called over the radio. Her voice was tired and sad. "I need to tell you something important." Han Sol left the bridge and walked through the quiet corridors. Most of the colonists still slept in their cryopods. They did not know their dreams of a new world were turning into nightmares. The few crew members who were awake moved like ghosts through the ship. Everyone knew they were in trouble, but no one wanted to say it out loud. The engine room was hot and filled with smoke. Broken pipes leaked coolant onto the floor. Boram sat next to a twisted piece of metal that used to be their main power source. She looked up when the captain arrived. "How long do we have?" Han Sol asked. He already knew the answer would be bad. 6 weeks, maybe 7, Boram said quietly. "The life support systems are failing. The air recyclers are working too hard. The water pumps are breaking down. Even if we wake up all the colonists, we do not have enough food and water for everyone." Sun Ho Park joined them in the engine room. He was the colony leader and responsible for all the sleeping families. His face was gray with worry. "The distress beacon has been sending signals for 3 weeks," he said. "No one has answered. Earth is too far away. Even if they sent a rescue ship today, it would take months to reach us." Dr. Yuna Choi arrived with her medical report. She was the chief doctor and had been checking on the colonists in their pods. "Some of the cryo systems are failing too," she said. "The radiation from the explosion damaged the pods in Section 7. I had to wake up 200 people early. They are scared and asking questions I cannot answer." Han Sol looked at his crew. These were good people who had followed him across the galaxy. They trusted him to keep them safe. Now he was failing them all. "Keep working on the repairs," he told Boram. "Send the distress signal on all frequencies. Maybe someone will hear us." For 3 more weeks they tried everything. Boram worked until her hands bled trying to fix the engines. Sun Ho organized the awake colonists to save food and water. Yuna took care of the sick and scared people. Han Sol sent message after message into the void hoping someone would answer. No one did. The ship grew colder as the heating systems failed. More colonists had to be woken up as their pods broke down. Fear spread through the corridors like a disease. Parents held their children and wondered if they would ever see their new home. Young couples who had planned to start families together now faced death in the darkness between stars. "Captain," Boram called from her station. "I am picking up something on the scanners." Han Sol rushed to look at her screen. After weeks of empty space, they finally saw something. A ship was moving toward them. It was not human design. The shape was strange and smooth, like it had grown instead of being built. "Is it friendly?" Sun Ho asked. "I do not know," Han Sol replied. "We are about to find out." The alien ship was beautiful. It moved through space like a fish swimming through water. Soft lights glowed along its sides in patterns that seemed to pulse with life. It was much smaller than the New Dawn, but it moved with purpose and grace. "They are sending a message," Boram said. Her equipment translated the alien words into human language. The voice that came through the speakers was gentle and musical, like flowing water. "Greetings, travelers of the void. We are the crew of the Mom, Gentle Current. We have heard your calls for help across the dark waters of space. We are the Villani and we swim to your aid." Han Sol grabbed the radio with shaking hands. After weeks of silence, someone had finally answered. "This is Captain Han Sol Kim of the human colony ship New Dawn. We are in great danger. Our engines are destroyed. Our people are dying." The alien voice replied with kindness that made Yuna cry. We see your pain, Captain Kim. All life is precious in the cosmic ocean. We will help you, though we are far from our own spawning grounds. The Volani ship moved closer. Through the windows, Han Sol could see the aliens working on their vessel. They had blue-green skin that glowed softly in the darkness. They moved like they were swimming even though they were in air. Their ship docked with the New Dawn using connection arms that bent and flexed like living things. The first Volani to board their ship was tall and graceful. His skin pulsed with gentle light as he spoke. I am Captain Tidal Heart of the Gentle Current. We bring medicine for your sick. We bring repair materials for your ship. Most important, we bring hope. Boram worked with the Volani engineers. Their tools were unlike anything she had seen. They did not force repairs like human equipment. Instead, they seemed to heal the broken parts of the ship. The Volani showed her how to make the damaged systems work again. Dr. Yuna received medical supplies that could treat radiation sickness. The Volani medicine worked better than anything from Earth. Soon the sick colonists began to recover. Children who had been weak and tired started to play again. But the biggest gift came when Captain Tidal Heart spoke to Han Sol in private. Your ship cannot reach your destination. Your engines are too damaged. But we can tow you to the nearest inhabited system. It will use much of our fuel. It will take us far from our planned course. But all life swims in the same ocean, Captain Kim. We help each other or we all sink into darkness. Han Sol felt tears in his eyes. These strangers were willing to sacrifice their own mission to save his people. Why would you do this for us? You do not even know us. Captain Tidal Heart's skin glowed brighter as he spoke. Because kindness creates currents that flow through all of space and time. Today we help you. Tomorrow the current may bring help to us. This is the way of the gentle current. This is the way of life. As the Volani ship began to pull the New Dawn toward safety, Han Sol made a promise he would remember for the rest of his life. We will not forget this kindness, Captain Tidal Heart. Humanity never forgets those who help us in our darkest hour. The Qaim, alien captain's reply would echo through the years to come. The current flows both ways, friend of the dry places. Perhaps one day it will carry us together again. The journey to safety would take 1 full month. The Volani ship Gentle Current pulled the massive New Dawn through space like a small boat towing a great whale. Every day brought new wonders as humans, and Volani learned about each other. Boram. Lee spent most of her time in the Volani engineering section. The alien technology amazed her. Instead of metal and circuits, the Volani used living materials that grew and changed. Their computers were like coral reefs that pulsed with soft light. When she touched the controls, they felt warm and alive under her fingers. How does this work? She asked Reef Singer Wave Dancer, a young Volani engineer. His skin glowed blue and green as he explained. We do not force our tools to obey us, Wave Dancer said. His voice sounded like water flowing over smooth stones. We ask them to help us. We work together like fish in a school. Each part knows its job and does it gladly. Boram watched as Wave Dancer spoke to their ship in patterns of light that flowed across his skin. The ship responded by showing him what he needed to know. The hull displays showed fuel levels and engine status in colors that changed like a sunset. Your ship is alive, Boram said with wonder. All things have spirit, Wave Dancer replied. Metal and crystal, water and air. We just help them remember how to work together. In the medical bay, Dr. Yuna Choi learned about Volani healing methods. The aliens did not just treat sickness, they helped the body remember how to be healthy. Their medicines were made from deep ocean plants that glowed with the same light as their skin. We grow these in the spawning pools of our homeworld, explained Gentle Current Deep Healer, the Volani doctor. Each plant learns to heal different hurts. This one helps broken bones remember their strength. This one teaches blood cells to fight infection. Yuna watched as Deep Healer treated a human child who had been sick from radiation. The Volani medicine made the boy's fever go away in hours instead of days. But more than that, the child stopped being afraid. The gentle lights and flowing movements of the Volani healer calmed his mind as well as his body. You could teach us so much, Yuna said. Deep Healer's skin pulsed with warm golden light. Knowledge is like water. It must flow freely or it becomes stagnant. We share what we know because sharing makes all life stronger. Jinwoo Nam was the ship's diplomatic officer. He had studied many alien cultures, but the Villani were different from anything he had read about. They seemed to think about everything in terms of flowing water and swimming together. "Tell me about your people," Jinwoo asked Captain Titleheart as they sat in the Villani meditation chamber. The room was filled with tanks of glowing water where small sea creatures swam in lazy circles. "We are children of the deep currents," Titleheart explained. "Long ago our ancestors learned that the ocean connects all things. A stone thrown in one place makes waves that reach distant shores. An act of kindness in one part of the galaxy creates currents that help beings we will never meet." "But why help us?" Jinwoo asked. "We are strangers to you. Helping us puts your own mission at risk." Titleheart's skin showed patterns of silver and blue as he thought about the question. Once our world was dying. The star that warmed our oceans was growing cold. We sent out ships to find a new home, but space is vast and lonely. For many years we swam in darkness thinking we would never find safe waters. The Villani captain moved his hands as he spoke, and the water creatures in the tank seemed to dance to his gestures. Then we met the Wandering Minds, a species of energy beings who lived in the hearts of stars. They had no reason to help us. We could offer them nothing they needed. But they saw our desperation and took pity. They taught us how to heal our dying sun. "So you help us because someone helped you," Jinwoo said. "No," Titleheart replied with a smile that made his face glow brighter. "We help you because all life swims in the same cosmic ocean. The Wandering Minds taught us this truth. What helps one species helps all species. What harms one harms all." But as the days passed, it became clear that helping the humans was costing the Villani more than they had first admitted. Haijin-Oh was a cultural expert who had been studying the Villani crew. She noticed that they were using more fuel than planned and eating less food to make their supplies last longer. "You are sacrificing too much for us," Haijin told Wave Dancer one day as they worked together in the engine room. The young Villani's skin flickered with embarrassed purple light. "It is nothing. We have enough." But Haijin had been watching and calculating. She went to Captain Hansol with her concerns. "They are giving us more help than they can afford. At this rate, they might not have enough fuel to reach their own home." Hansol called a meeting with Captain Titleheart. The two commanders met in the New Dawn's conference room. Through the windows, they could see both ships traveling together through the star-filled darkness. "My people tell me you are using too much of your resources to help us," Hansol said directly. "We are grateful, but we do not want you to sacrifice your own survival for ours." Titleheart was quiet for a long moment. His skin showed deep ocean colors as he considered his words. "You speak truly, friend Hansol. This rescue will use most of our fuel reserves. We may not be able to return to our spawning grounds for many seasons." "Then we must find another way," Hansol said. "We cannot accept help that dooms our rescuers." "But you will die if we abandon you now," Titleheart replied. "Your ship cannot make the journey alone. Better that we die than live knowing we caused your deaths," Hansol said firmly. This made Titleheart's entire body glow with warm golden light. "Now I understand why the cosmic currents brought us together, Captain Kim. You think like a Villani. You understand that some things are more important than individual survival. I understand that good people should not suffer for helping others," Hansol replied. "Then you understand nothing," Titleheart said with gentle humor. "Suffering shared is suffering lessened. Joy shared is joy multiplied. We chose to help you, knowing the cost. That choice makes us who we are." The Villani captain stood and moved to the window. His reflection shimmered like moonlight on water. "My people have a saying. The deepest currents flow far from shore. To reach the greatest treasures, we must swim in the darkest waters. Helping you swim to safety is the greatest treasure we have ever found." As the month of travel continued, the bonds between human and Villani grew stronger. Children from both species played together despite breathing different atmospheres. Scientists shared knowledge that would advance both civilizations. Artists created new forms of beauty by combining human imagination with Villani flowing light. But Everyone knew the journey was coming to an end. Soon they would reach the safe harbor where human rescue ships waited. The Volani would continue toward their distant home with dangerously low fuel supplies. The two species who had found such friendship in the darkness would swim apart again. On the last day of the journey, Captain Titleheart spoke to the assembled humans and Volani in the main cargo bay. His words would be remembered by both species for generations to come. We came together in the deep, dark waters of space. We helped each other survive. We learned that friendship can bloom even between beings who breathe different air and see different colors of light. This is the gift we give to the cosmos. This is how the great current grows stronger. Hansel responded with tears in his eyes. Captain Titleheart, my friend, humanity will never forget what you have done for us. Someday, somehow, we will repay this debt. The Volani captain's skin pulsed with every color of the ocean as he replied. The current flows both ways, dear friend. What goes out must return. Perhaps the cosmic waters will bring us together again. Neither species knew how true those words would prove to be. 15 years had passed since the rescue of the New Dawn. The story of Volani kindness had spread across human space like ripples in a pond. What began as one ship's salvation had become something much greater. Admiral Dong Hyun Kang stood in the war room of Earth Defense Command. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of every human colony and military ship in known space. He was a hard man who had fought in 3 wars, but today, his weathered face showed deep concern. "Show me the report again," he told his aide. The holographic display changed to show a star map of Volani space. Red warning symbols marked areas of conflict. Dr. Mi Young Seo stepped forward to explain what they had discovered. She had spent years studying Volani culture after the rescue and spoke their language fluently. "The Volani homeworld is here," she said, pointing to a blue star system. "But our deep space scouts have found something terrible. The system is controlled by the Hegemony Coalition now." Kang knew about the coalition. They were a group of aggressive species who believed that might made right. They conquered weaker civilizations and used them as slaves. The thought of gentle Volani falling into their hands made his stomach turn. "How long have they been there?" he asked. "At least 10 years, replied Taimin Zhang, the head of Galactic Trade Relations. "The coalition set up mining operations throughout the system. They are strip mining the Volani ocean worlds for rare minerals." The admiral studied the reports with growing anger. The Volani had risked everything to save 50,000 humans. Now their entire species was suffering under brutal occupation. "What about the Volani themselves? Where are they?" Dr. Seo's voice became quiet and sad. "The survivors are being used as slave labor. The coalition keeps them in underwater mining stations. Their aquatic biology makes them perfect for deep ocean work that would kill other species." "How many survivors?" Kang asked, though he dreaded the answer. "We estimate maybe 100,000 Volani are still alive, down from over 10 million. Before the invasion, the room fell silent. Everyone present remembered the stories of Volani kindness. Many had children who learned about Captain Titleheart in school. The idea that such gentle beings were now slaves was unbearable. "Sir," said Commander Sora Kim from the intelligence section, "there is something else you need to know. We found records of coalition ship movements from 15 years ago. A Volani vessel was captured trying to enter their home system." Kang felt his blood run cold. "What vessel?" "The Gentle Current, sir. Captain Titleheart and his crew never made it home. They have been prisoners this entire time." The admiral closed his eyes and remembered the promise Captain Hansol Kim had made all those years ago. Humanity never forgets. They had spent 15 years searching for a way to repay the Volani. Now they knew where their saviors were and what had happened to them. "What is the coalition's military strength?" Kang asked his strategic officers. 1,200 warships across 6 member species, replied General Wu Jin Lim. "They control 47 star systems. Their technology is roughly equal to ours, but they have superior numbers. And our strength: 300 ships in the defense fleet, another 200 in colonial guard units. We are outnumbered 4 to 1. Any sane military commander would have called those impossible odds. But Admiral Kang was thinking about more than numbers. He was thinking about debt and honor and the kind of species humanity wanted to be. Send messages to every human colony, he ordered. Tell them about the Villani situation. Ask for volunteers. Sir, General Lim said carefully. Even with colonial support, we cannot match coalition numbers. This could be suicide. Kang turned to face his staff. His eyes burned with quiet fury. General, the Villani saved 50,000 human lives when they had no reason to help us. Captain Titleheart and his people gave up their own chance of getting home to tow us to safety. Now they are slaves in underwater mines slowly dying for coalition profits. The Admiral activated the main communication system. His voice would reach every human world simultaneously. This is Admiral Kang to all human forces. 15 years ago, the Villani species saved the colony ship New Dawn. They asked for nothing in return. They expected nothing in return. But humanity remembers its debts. He paused to let his words sink in. On dozens of worlds, millions of humans stopped what they were doing to listen. The Villani are now slaves of the Hegemony Coalition. The beings who showed us kindness in our darkest hour are dying in alien mines. This cannot stand. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Colony governors pledged their defense fleets. Merchant captains volunteered their cargo ships. Veterans came out of retirement to serve again. Even civilian ships were converted to carry troops and supplies. But the most important response came from New Haven, the world that had been built by the survivors of the New Dawn. Colony leader Sun Ho Park, now an old man, sent a message that brought tears to Admiral Kang's eyes. Admiral Kang, this is Sun Ho Park, speaking for the people of New Haven. Every person on this world owes their life to Villani kindness. We pledge everything we have to repay that debt. Our ships, our soldiers, our resources are yours to command. The children of the New Dawn will not forget who saved their parents. Similar messages poured in from across human space. The rescue had become legend, but the legend was creating real action. Dr. Mi-young-seo worked with her team to learn everything possible about coalition defenses. Intelligence operative Hyun-soo Bae prepared to infiltrate enemy space. Commander Sora Kim began training special rescue teams, but the most remarkable change was in human culture itself. The idea of debt remembrance had taken root and grown. Humans began keeping careful records of kindness received and kindness given. Children learned that forgetting good deeds was a form of moral poverty. The story of the Villani had changed how humanity saw itself. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy, Admiral Kang told his officers as they planned the rescue mission. We are not the smartest or the most advanced, but we may be the only species that truly understands gratitude. He activated the star map showing Villani space. Red enemy positions surrounded the blue symbols marking Villani worlds. The coalition thinks they are safe because they have superior numbers. They think humanity is too practical to risk everything for strangers. They are about to learn they are wrong. General Lim studied the tactical displays. Sir, even with all our volunteers, we are still badly outnumbered. The coalition has been preparing for war for decades. This will be the largest military operation in human history. Good, Kang replied grimly. The Villani deserve our very best effort. Captain Titleheart told Captain Kim that kindness creates currents that flow through space and time. Those currents are about to become a tsunami. The Admiral opened a secure channel to all fleet commanders. Attention all units. Begin final preparations for Operation Flowing Current. We depart for Villani space in 72 hours. Remember, we are not going as conquerors. We are going as friends paying a debt that can never truly be repaid. As the human fleet gathered for the largest rescue mission in galactic history, Admiral Kang thought about the gentle aliens who had risked everything to save strangers. Soon they would learn that their kindness had not been forgotten. Soon they would discover that some debts create bonds stronger than any chain. The ripples of Villani compassion were about to become waves of human determination. The coalition was about to face something they had never encountered before. An enemy that fought not for territory or resources but for honor itself. The current was flowing back to the Villani, and it was bringing the full might of humanity with it. The mobilization of humanity was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Within weeks of Admiral Kang's announcement, every human world was preparing for war. But this was not ordinary war. This was a crusade of gratitude that would shake the foundations of known space. Commander Sora Kim stood in the training facility on Mars watching her special forces prepare for the most dangerous mission of their careers. These were the elite soldiers who would lead the rescue operations on Volani mining stations. Each one had volunteered knowing they might not return. "Remember," she told her troops, "we are not there to destroy. We are there to save lives. Every Volani we rescue is a victory. Every coalition soldier who surrenders lives to see another day. We fight with precision, not hatred." The soldiers nodded, understanding. They had all grown up hearing stories of Volani kindness. Many had parents or grandparents who had been on the New Dawn. This mission was personal for every human involved. Meanwhile, in the deep space laboratories, engineer Boram Lee worked on weapons and tools specifically designed for the Volani rescue. She was no longer the young woman who had crawled through broken engines 15 years ago. Now she was one of humanity's top military engineers, and she had a score to settle. "Show me the mining station schematics again," she told her team. Intelligence operative Hyun-Soo Bae had risked his life to gather detailed information about coalition slave operations. The data he brought back was horrifying. "The underwater facilities go down 30 kilometers, Hyun-Soo explained. "The Volani are forced to work in the deepest sections where the pressure would crush most species. The coalition uses pain collars to control them. If a Volani tries to resist or escape, the collar sends electric shocks through their nervous system." Boram studied the technical drawings with growing anger. The gentle beings who had saved her ship were being tortured in the darkness of alien oceans. "Can we disable the collars remotely?" "I think so," replied Hyun-Soo. "But we would need to be very close. The signal encryption is military grade." "Then we get close," Boram said firmly. She began designing specialized equipment for underwater combat and rescue operations. Every tool had to work perfectly the first time. There would be no second chances. In the medical bays, Dr. Yuna Choi prepared treatment protocols for traumatized and injured Volani. She had studied their biology for 15 years, but she knew that slavery would have changed them. The beings they rescued might be very different from the kind healers she remembered. "The Volani healing philosophy is based on harmony and balance," she explained to her medical teams. 10 years of brutal treatment will have damaged more than their bodies. We must be prepared to heal minds and spirits as well as flesh. Yoon Jung. Ryu worked on perhaps the most important part of the mission. As a communications specialist, she was developing ways to contact enslaved Volani without alerting their captors. The challenge was enormous. How do you tell someone in an underwater prison that rescue is coming? "The Volani communicate through bioluminescent patterns on their skin," she told Admiral Kang during a briefing. "If we can broadcast the right light frequencies into their facilities, we might be able to send messages they will understand." "What kind of messages?" the Admiral asked. "Hope, sir. We tell them that humanity remembers. We tell them that help is coming." But the most crucial work was being done by Hyun-Soo Bae in the deepest parts of coalition space. The intelligence operative had spent months infiltrating enemy territory, gathering information about their defenses and slave operations. What he discovered made him sick with rage. The coalition did not just enslave the Volani. They deliberately broke their spirits. The aquatic beings were kept in small dark cells when not working. They were fed barely enough to survive. Most horrible of all, they were forbidden to communicate with each other. The bioluminescent patterns that were so important to Volani culture were considered rebellious behavior. Volani caught signaling to each other were punished severely. "They are trying to make the Volani forget who they are," Hyun-Soo reported to Admiral Kang. "But I found something that will interest you, sir. The original crew of the Gentle Current is still alive. Captain Titleheart is being held in the maximum security facility on Deepwater Station." Admiral Kang felt his heart pound. The Volani captain who had saved the New Dawn was still alive after 15 years of slavery. "What is his condition?" "Alive, sir, but barely. The coalition commanders consider him a prize prisoner. They use him as an example to keep other Volani from resisting. The Admiral closed his eyes and made a silent promise. Captain Titleheart had spent 15 years in hell because he chose to save humans instead of returning safely home. That debt would be repaid in full. General Wu Jin Lim coordinated the massive military buildup. Ships arrived daily from every human colony. The defense fleet grew from 300 vessels to over 800 as merchant ships were converted to military use. Volunteers came from every walk of life. Former soldiers returned to service. Pilots left comfortable jobs to fly military transports. Even civilians signed up to serve in support roles. The coalition has never faced anything like this, General, Lim told his staff. They fight for territory and resources. We are fighting for something they cannot understand. Honor, gratitude, love. But the coalition was not sitting idle. Their intelligence networks reported unusual human activity. Coalition High Command dismissed the threat at first. Humans were known to be emotional and impractical. Surely they would not risk their entire civilization for a few thousand alien slaves. That assumption would prove to be their greatest mistake. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Gratitude and watched the largest fleet in human history assemble around him. 800 ships of every size and type, battleships and carriers, cruisers and destroyers, medical vessels and supply ships, even luxury liners converted to troop transports. But numbers were only part of the story. The real power of this fleet came from its purpose. Every human aboard knew exactly why they were here. They were not fighting for conquest or glory. They were paying a debt to the beings who had saved them when no one else would help. Commander Kyung Ho Yoon ran final tactical simulations on the fleet computers. The scenarios were not encouraging. Even with their expanded numbers, humanity was still outnumbered. The coalition had more ships, better positions, and home field advantage. Sir, he reported to Admiral Kang, even our most optimistic projections show heavy casualties. We could lose half the fleet in the first engagement. And our chances of success, Kang asked. 60%, sir. Maybe 70 if everything goes perfectly. The Admiral nodded grimly. Those were not good odds for such a massive undertaking. But sometimes doing the right thing meant accepting terrible risks. Commander, Yoon, do you remember the story of Captain Titleheart? Of course, sir. Every human child knows that story. Then you remember that he risked his entire crew to save 50,000 strangers. He had no guarantee of success. He knew the rescue might cost him everything, but he did it anyway because it was right. Admiral Kang activated the fleet communication system. His words would reach every ship in the massive armada. Attention all vessels. In 6 hours we jump to Vellani space. We go to repay a debt of kindness that has grown over 15 years. We go to rescue the beings who saved the new dawn, when they had no reason to help us. He paused, looking out at the sea of ships surrounding his flagship. The coalition thinks we are fools for risking so much to save aliens we barely know. They cannot understand that some things are more important than safety. Some bonds are stronger than fear. The Admiral's voice grew stronger as he continued. Captain Titleheart told us that kindness creates currents flowing through space and time. Today those currents carry us back to our friends. Today we prove that humanity never forgets an act of goodness. On 800 ships, human crews prepared for the greatest rescue mission in galactic history. In the engine rooms, engineers checked every system twice. In the weapons bays, gunners loaded special ammunition designed to disable rather than destroy. In the medical bays, doctors prepared to treat beings they had never seen but already loved. But perhaps the most important preparation was happening in the communication centers. Using the frequencies that Unjong Ryu had developed, human ships began broadcasting into Vellani space. The messages were simple patterns of light that any Vellani would recognize. Hope. Help. Remember. In the dark depths of underwater prisons scattered across Vellani space, enslaved beings saw the light signals and dared to believe. After 15 years of suffering, they were being told that someone still cared. Someone was coming to bring them home. Captain Titleheart sat in his cell on Deepwater Station and watched the faint lights flickering on his prison walls. His bioluminescent patches had been surgically dimmed years ago to prevent communication, but he could still see. and what he saw made his heart race with impossible hope. The patterns were crude and simple, but the message was clear. Humanity had not forgotten. The current was flowing back to the Vellani at last. In space above, the human fleet completed its final preparations. Admiral Kang gave the order that would change galactic history forever. All ships prepare for hyperspace jump. Destination, Vellani home system. Today we pay our debts. Today we bring our friends home. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Vellani home system, like a storm breaking over calm seas. 800 ships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of the blue star that had once warmed peaceful ocean worlds. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of the Eternal Gratitude and looked at what the Coalition had done to Vellani space. Mining platforms surrounded every planet like metal parasites. Massive cargo ships hauled away precious minerals while smaller vessels patrolled between them. The beautiful water worlds he had seen in old records were now scarred and polluted. Coalition. Fleet is responding, sir, reported Commander Kyung Ho Yoon. 1,200 ships moving to intercept. They are demanding we leave immediately. Open a channel to Coalition Command, Kang ordered. His voice carried the cold fury of 15 years of waiting. The holographic display showed the Coalition Admiral, a reptilian creature with silver scales and cold yellow eyes. I am Supreme Commander Hisclaw of the Hegemony Coalition. You are trespassing in our territory. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. I am Admiral Dong-Hyun Kang of the Human Defense Fleet. Kang replied calmly. We have come for the Vellani. Release all prisoners and we will depart in peace. The Coalition commander laughed with a sound like breaking glass. The aquatic slaves belong to us by right of conquest. You humans are outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Leave now or join your precious fish friends in the mining stations. Admiral Kang's expression did not change, but everyone on the bridge could feel his anger like heat from a forge. Supreme Commander, you have made a grave error. You have enslaved the beings who saved 50,000 human lives when they had no obligation to help us. You have tortured our friends. You have forgotten that humanity never forgives those who harm the innocent. Your friendship with weakling fish does not concern us, Hisclaw snarled. We have superior numbers and defensive positions. Your emotional foolishness will be your destruction. Then you understand nothing about humanity, Kang replied quietly. We did not come here to conquer. We came here to rescue. That makes us far more dangerous than you realize. The communication ended. Admiral Kang turned to his fleet commanders. Commence Operation Flowing Current. All ships execute rescue protocols. Remember, our mission is to save lives, not take them. What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. The human fleet did not attack the Coalition forces directly. Instead, they scattered like seeds on the wind, each ship group heading for a different target. The Coalition had expected a traditional fleet battle. They got something completely different. Commander So-Ra Kim led her Special Forces assault teams toward the underwater mining stations. Her ships were specially designed for aquatic operations with hulls that could survive crushing ocean depths. As they approached the first prison facility, she activated the communication frequencies that Hyunjung Ryu had developed. Attention, Vellani prisoners. This is Commander Kim of the Human Rescue Fleet. We are the children of the New Dawn. We have come to take you home. Deep beneath the ocean waves, enslaved Vellani saw the light patterns and began to hope. After 15 years of darkness and pain, they were being told that freedom was coming. Some wept with joy. Others began to resist their guards for the first time in years. Captain Titleheart sat in his maximum security cell and watched the lights flickering on the walls. The patterns were simple, but the message filled his damaged hearts with warmth. The humans had not forgotten. The current had brought them back. Engineer Bo-Ram Lee coordinated the technical assault on Coalition systems. Her teams used weapons, specifically designed to disable rather than destroy. Electromagnetic pulse missiles shut down mining equipment without killing the operators. Cutting beam arrays sliced through prison walls while carefully avoiding life support systems. Target the slave collars first, she ordered her technical teams. Free the Vellani before engaging Coalition forces. Her specialized equipment worked perfectly. Across dozens of mining stations, the cruel devices that controlled Volani slaves simply stopped working. For the first time in years, the gentle aliens could communicate with each other again. Bioluminescent patterns of joy and hope began to flow through the dark waters. But the coalition was not surrendering easily. Their military commanders ordered all forces to attack the human fleet with maximum violence. 1,200 warships moved to crush what they saw as an inferior enemy. They discovered their mistake within the first hour of battle. The human ships fought like nothing the coalition had ever faced. They were not trying to win territory or destroy enemies. They were trying to save lives. That single purpose gave them focus and determination that no amount of superior numbers could overcome. General Wu Jin Lim commanded the main battle fleet from the cruiser Undying Promise. His ships used tactics that confused and frustrated coalition commanders. Instead of seeking direct confrontation, they struck fast at key targets, then withdrew before the enemy could respond effectively. Hit their communication centers, he ordered. Blind them. Make them fight as individuals instead of a coordinated fleet. Human plasma torpedoes struck coalition command ships with surgical precision. The enemy fleet began to lose coordination as their commanders could no longer communicate with each other. Ships that had been working together suddenly found themselves isolated and vulnerable. But the real shock came when coalition forces tried to use their most powerful weapons. They targeted human ships with planet-killer missiles, expecting to destroy multiple vessels with each shot. Instead, they watched in amazement as human point defense systems intercepted every weapon. Dr. Yuna Choi had insisted that the fleet carry the most advanced medical and defensive technology humanity could build. "We are here to preserve life," she had argued. "That includes our own lives and the lives of our enemies." The result was a fleet that was almost impossible to kill. Human ships absorbed damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. When coalition vessels were disabled, human medical teams immediately moved in to treat wounded enemy crew members. This confused the coalition forces even more. Why would humans risk their lives to save enemy soldiers? Why waste resources on medical aid when they could be destroying more targets? The aliens had never encountered warfare motivated by love instead of hate. Supreme Commander Hisclaw watched his supposedly superior force being dismantled by creatures he had dismissed as emotional weaklings. His flagship was surrounded by disabled coalition vessels whose crews were being treated by human doctors. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his tactical officers. "Our numbers are still superior. Our weapons are equally powerful. Why are we losing?" "Sir," replied his aide nervously, "they are not trying to defeat us. They are trying to rescue prisoners. Every attack is coordinated with rescue operations. They disable our ships, then immediately move to extract Volani slaves. Then target the slaves," Hisclaw ordered in desperation. "If they want the fish so badly, threaten to kill them all." But even this cruel tactic failed. Human rescue teams moved so fast that coalition forces barely had time to react. Commander Sora Kim's special forces seemed to be everywhere at once. They appeared in heavily guarded facilities, extracted hundreds of prisoners, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The breakthrough came when Boram Lee's technical teams cracked the security codes for Deepwater Station. The maximum security facility that held Captain Titleheart was the most heavily defended target in the system. But Boram had spent 15 years preparing for this moment. "I am going in personally," she told Admiral Kang over the communication link. "Captain Titleheart saved my life when I was young. I will not let him die in that place." The assault on Deepwater Station became the turning point of the entire battle. Human forces hit the facility from every direction at once. Underwater assault teams breached the lower levels, while orbital bombardment disabled the upper defenses. In the chaos of battle, Boram led a small team directly to the maximum security section. She found Captain Titleheart in a cell so small, he could barely move. 15 years of imprisonment had taken a terrible toll. His once bright bioluminescence was dim and flickering. His proud bearing was bent by pain and suffering. But when he saw Boram, his skin flashed with sudden joy. "Little engineer," he whispered in the voice she remembered from so long ago. "The current brought you back to me." "We never forgot, Captain." Boram said as she cut through his restraints. Humanity never forgets an act of kindness. As Tidal Heart was carried to safety, the word spread throughout the coalition fleet. The legendary Villani captain was free. The humans had achieved their primary objective. Now there was no stopping them. Coalition resistance began to crumble. Ship after ship surrendered rather than face the relentless human advance. 3 entire member species withdrew their forces from the battle, declaring that they wanted no part in fighting beings who showed such honor to their enemies. Supreme Commander Hisclaw found himself commanding a rapidly shrinking fleet. His officers were deserting. His allies were abandoning him. The humans he had dismissed as weak, emotional fools had shattered his empire in less than 6 days. In desperation, he opened a communication channel to Admiral Kang. "We surrender," he said bitterly. "You have one human. Take your precious fish and go." But Admiral Kang's response surprised him. "This is not about winning, Commander. This is about justice. You will release every Villani prisoner. You will provide medical care for those you have harmed. You will pay reparations for the damage you have done, and you will submit to galactic oversight to ensure this never happens again." "And if we refuse?" Hisclaw asked. Admiral Kang's voice was quiet, but carried the weight of 800 ships and millions of humans who would never forget this day. "Then you will discover that we have barely begun to show you what human determination can accomplish." The coalition surrendered unconditionally. The 1,000-year empire that had terrorized dozens of species crumbled in the face of humanity's righteous fury. The galaxy would never be the same. But for Admiral Kang, the only thing that mattered was watching Villani families reunite with relatives they thought were dead. The sight of Captain Tidalheart embracing his crew members brought tears to the eyes of hardened soldiers. The current had finally flowed back to the Villani, and it had brought the full power of human gratitude with it. Part 6. The eternal current. 1 year after the liberation of Villani space, the galaxy was a different place. The Great Rescue had sent waves of change across hundreds of worlds as civilizations witnessed what happened when one species truly honored friendship. Admiral Dong Hyun Kang stood in the memorial garden on New Haven Colony watching children play, beneath trees planted in honor of every Villani who had died in coalition prisons. The garden was beautiful and peaceful, but it could not erase the memories of what humanity had found in those underwater mines. Of the 10 million Villani who had lived before the coalition invasion, only 200,000 had survived. An entire civilization had been nearly destroyed by 15 years of brutal slavery. The rescued survivors were slowly healing, but the scars would last for generations. Captain Tidalheart approached through the garden paths. The great Villani leader had recovered much of his strength over the past year, but he would never again be the vibrant being who had saved the new dawn. Prison had dimmed his natural glow and bent his proud frame. Yet his spirit remained unbroken. "Friend Kang," Tidalheart said in his musical voice, "I bring word from the Galactic Council meeting. They have approved the flowing current accords." The Admiral smiled with deep satisfaction. The accords were humanity's gift to the galaxy, a comprehensive treaty that made slavery and genocide crimes against all civilized species. Any world that signed agreed to protect refugees and punish those who harmed the innocent. "How many signatories?" Kang asked. 417 species so far, Tidalheart replied, "including all the former coalition members. They are eager to prove they have learned from their mistakes." The transformation of the coalition had been remarkable. The aggressive alliance that had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years had become a cooperative federation dedicated to peaceful development. The change had not happened overnight, but it was real and growing stronger each year. Dr. Yuna Choi joined them in the garden carrying her latest medical reports. She had spent the year establishing treatment centers for traumatized Villani survivors. The work was difficult and heartbreaking, but also deeply rewarding. "The healing centers are reporting good progress," she told them. "Physical recovery is faster than expected, but emotional healing takes longer. Many of the survivors still have nightmares. They cannot believe they are truly free." "Time will help," Tidalheart said gently. "The Villani are a resilient people. We have survived ice ages and stellar storms. We will survive the memory of chains as well. Engineer Boram Lee had become something of a legend among both humans and Villani. Her rescue of Captain Titleheart had inspired songs and stories across the galaxy. Now she led a joint engineering project that was creating new exploration ships designed by both species working together. The first of the new vessels will launch next month, she reported to the group. We are calling them Current Riders. They combine human engineering with Villani biotechnology. They can go places no single species could reach alone. The ships were symbolic of the new relationship between humans and Villani. Instead of one species helping the other, they had become true partners. Human colonies provided resources and protection, while Villani worlds shared their advanced healing arts and philosophical wisdom. But the real change was happening in the hearts and minds of beings across the galaxy. The story of the Great Rescue had spread to every civilized world. Children of dozens of species learned about the humans who crossed space to save strangers and the Villani whose kindness had started it all. Commander Sora Kim now ran the Galactic Protection Service, an organization dedicated to preventing future genocides. Her elite teams were made up of volunteers from over 50 species, all inspired by the example of human determination and Villani compassion. We have prevented 3 potential massacres this year, she reported. Word has spread that harming innocent beings brings swift justice. Most conflicts now seek mediation instead of violence. The ripple effects continue to spread. Species that had been enemies for centuries were learning to cooperate. Trade routes that had been closed by suspicion were reopening. Art and culture flowed between worlds that had never communicated before. Jin Wu Nam had become the first human ambassador to the reformed coalition. His job was helping former oppressor species learn new ways of relating to their neighbors. It was challenging work, but he found hope in the changes he witnessed daily. The Serpentine Republic just signed a mutual defense pact with the Coral Reef Democracy, he told Admiral Kang. 2 species that used to be mortal enemies are now protecting each other. The transformation is remarkable. Perhaps the most important development was the establishment of the Debt Remembrance Archive on Earth. The massive database recorded every act of kindness between species and tracked efforts to repay those debts. It had become a powerful force, for good as civilizations competed to show gratitude rather than strength. He Jin O managed the archive with help from scholars representing hundreds of worlds. We have recorded over 10 million acts of kindness in the past year alone, Xiu reported. Small gestures and great sacrifices alike. Each one creates connections that make war less likely and cooperation more natural. The archive had revealed something remarkable about the nature of good deeds. Acts of kindness did not disappear after being repaid. Instead, they inspired new acts of kindness, creating an endless cycle of positive action across the galaxy. Captain Titleheart had become the spiritual leader of this movement. His writings about the cosmic current were studied on worlds he had never visited. His philosophy that all life was connected had found eager students among species that had forgotten how to trust. The ancient Villani texts speak of the Great Swimming, he explained to a gathering of galactic leaders, a time when all beings would flow together in harmony through the cosmic ocean. I believe we are seeing the beginning of that age. But challenges remained. Not every species embraced the new way of thinking. Some still believed that might made right and that the strong should dominate the weak. These holdouts watched the growing peace with suspicion and anger. There are forces that oppose the accords, General Wu Jin Lim warned during a security briefing. The Void Hunters still practice slavery. The Iron Hegemony refuses to sign the treaty. They see our compassion as weakness to be exploited. Admiral Kang nodded grimly. Peace was fragile and required constant protection. But humanity had learned something important during the Villani rescue. When good beings worked together, they were stronger than any force of evil. Let them watch and wonder, he said. Every species that joins the Accords makes us stronger. Every act of kindness creates new bonds. Time is on our side. The proof came during the crisis of the burning worlds. A rogue asteroid threatened to destroy the home world of the Crystalline Collective, a species that had been neutral in galactic affairs. Under the old system, they would have faced extinction alone. Instead, 47 species responded to their distress call. Human ships provided the firepower to break up the asteroid. Villani healers treated radiation victims. Former coalition worlds sent food and supplies. The entire galaxy came together to save a single world. The Crystalline Collective was so moved by this aid that they immediately signed the Flowing Current Accords and opened their advanced technology to all member species. Their quantum computers helped solve problems that had puzzled scientists for centuries. This is how civilizations should grow, Captain Teitlhart observed as he watched the relief efforts, not through conquest but through cooperation, not by taking from others but by giving to all. 20 years after the original rescue, Admiral Kang found himself preparing for retirement. The young captain who had promised to repay Villani kindness had become an old man who had changed the galaxy, but his greatest satisfaction came from knowing the work would continue without him. The new generation of leaders included humans and aliens working side by side. Admiral Min-Soo Park, daughter of former colony leader Sun-Ho Park, now commanded the defense fleet. Her deputy was wave singer Coral Hart, a young Villani whose parents had been rescued from coalition mines. The current flows stronger now, Captain Teitlhart told Kang during their final meeting as active leaders. Your species and mine cast small stones of kindness into the cosmic ocean. The waves have reached every shore. The old Villani captain was right. The Flowing Current Accords now included over 800 species. Slavery was virtually extinct in civilized space. Wars were rare and brief. Trade and cultural exchange flourished across the galaxy. But perhaps the most remarkable change was in how beings thought about themselves and others. Children learned that helping strangers was the highest virtue. Leaders competed to show the most generosity rather than the most strength. Artists created works celebrating cooperation instead of conquest. The New Dawn colony ship had been preserved as a monument to the friendship between humans and Villani. Millions of visitors came each year to see the vessel that had brought two species together. The tour always ended in the Memorial Hall, where Captain Teitlhart's words were carved in every known language. All life is precious current in the cosmic ocean. We swim together, or we sink alone. On the 50th anniversary of the original rescue, the entire galaxy celebrated Flowing Current Day. It had become the most important holiday for hundreds of species. Children exchanged gifts representing acts of kindness. Adults renewed their vows to help those in need. Captain Hansol, Kim, now ancient but still alive, gave the keynote address from his home on Earth. His words were broadcast to every world in known space. 50 years ago, my ship was dying in the darkness between stars. We sent out calls for help expecting silence. Instead, we found friends we never knew we had. The Villani saved us not because they had to, but because they chose to. That choice changed everything. The old captain paused to gather his strength. At 120 years old, he was one of the last survivors of the original New Dawn voyage. Today we live in a galaxy where kindness is repaid with kindness, where strangers become friends and friends become family. The Villani taught us that all beings swim in the same cosmic ocean. We have learned to swim together. As celebrations continued across the galaxy, Admiral Kang stood once again in the Memorial Garden on New Haven. The trees had grown tall and strong over the decades. Children who had never known war played beneath branches planted in honor of beings who had died for freedom. Captain Teitlhart joined him one last time. The great Villani was very old now, his bioluminescence barely a flicker in the gathering dusk. But his spirit burned as bright as ever. "My friend," the alien captain said softly, "do you remember what I told you all those years ago? That the current flows both ways." "I remember," Kang replied. "You said perhaps the cosmic waters would bring us together again." "They did more than that," Teitlhart said with wonder in his voice. "They brought together the entire galaxy. The small current of kindness we started has become a mighty river, carrying all species toward the light." As the two old friends watched the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colors, they knew their work was complete. The debt had been repaid, not just to the Villani but to the cosmos itself. Humanity had learned that some bonds transcend species and some promises last forever. The current would flow on long after they were gone, carrying new generations of beings toward an ever brighter future. And somewhere in the vast ocean of space, new acts of kindness would create new currents of hope. The galaxy would never forget that humanity remembers its debts. More importantly, it would never forget that kindness shared is kindness multiplied across the stars. The eternal current flowed on, carrying all life toward infinite possibilities.